They say some moments etch themselves into your very soul, lingering long after they've passed. They linger around you like silent phantoms, ever present yet unvoiced. 2 years have slipped by since that fateful day. It has been 2 years since the world as we knew it was irrevocably transformed. What was supposed to be a straightforward task quickly unraveled into something far more complex. The sun blazed overhead as my son, Liam, and I ventured to the beach, the salty breeze whispering promises of adventure. Daniel, my husband, was unable to be with us. He never did. Work had always been my priority, and in that solitude, I had learned to thrive. Yet an unmistakable tension hung in the air that day, hinting at the extraordinary. Not only at that moment, but even in this very instant. We unfurled the towels, surrendering to the sun's embrace, soaking in its radiant warmth. It was a day that felt almost oppressively warm. I sank into the soothing embrace of tranquility, a fleeting escape from the cacophony of the world, and turned to Liam, requesting his assistance in spreading sunscreen across my back. I acted without hesitation. He is my son. My beloved child. What reason do I have to do that? In the beginning it felt pure, just his hands reaching out to assist me. But then, something caught my eye. His touch lingered, descending slowly, each movement charged with anticipation. Yet, I let him go. Why didn't I? You believe you have unraveled the depths of your own being. Your family, the very essence of your existence, the threads that weave the fabric of your life. Yet, there are times when a single moment has the power to unravel everything. That fateful day at the beach changed everything for me, leaving an indelible mark that I have carried ever since. Daniel and I had shared the journey of marriage for over 15 years. Those who knew us would have sworn we were the ideal couple. A charming house stood proudly, filled with laughter from the spirited children, embodying the essence of a life well lived. Yet, it is only when you step inside the walls that the imperfections reveal themselves. Only those who walk through it can truly sense the emptiness that surrounds them. For years, Daniel poured every ounce of his being into his work, letting it consume him entirely. In the stillness of late nights, during the quiet of weekends, and even amidst the festive cheer of holidays, I often convinced myself that his actions were for our sake. His unwavering commitment and countless hours spent working were all for the purpose of forging a brighter future for our family. Yet, as time passed, that logic began to crumble. What worth does a house hold when it stands empty, untouched by the warmth of life? He no longer saw me. When he finally stepped through the door, his eyes barely brushed against mine. He ceased to inquire about my well-being, my desires, or my needs. Our conversations dwindled to mere snippets, a hurried exchange of bills, groceries, and the kids. His heart swelled with affection for Liam and his precious little sister, Sophie. Yet, even in their presence, he remained an elusive specter. An essence lingered, elusive and intangible. As I sat across from him at the table, a heavy silence enveloped us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had become invisible to him. That morning lingers vividly in my mind. The kitchen was alive with the scent of spices as Daniel burst through the door, urgency etched on his face. He snatched his briefcase, pressed a gentle kiss on Sophie's head, and cast me a quick, piercing look. "Forgive me, Claire. Today, I find myself unable to make it." He spoke with a hint of urgency. Something came up at work. I held my tongue, merely nodding, the familiar lump in my throat rising once more. I whispered to myself that it was all right. Liam and I could venture out on our own. At 16, Liam stood tall and lanky, his father's brown eyes gleaming with a softer, more contemplative expression. His silence spoke volumes when I revealed it would be just the two of us. With a casual shrug, he grabbed the bags and trailed behind me to the car. As the car glided along the road, he nestled in the passenger seat, earbuds snugly in place, his eyes fixed on the world outside, lost in thought like a typical teenager caught in a moment of daydreaming. As I observed him, a smile crept onto my lips, unbidden and warm. He was maturing at an astonishing pace, and I found myself haunted by the fear that one day I might just blink and he would vanish from my life forever. The journey to the beach stretched on, a seemingly infinite road ahead, while my thoughts wandered, as they so often did, to Daniel. Memories of our shared adventures flooded my mind, each one a vivid reminder of the bond we once had. A vivid reminder of the bond we once had. Evenings filled with cinematic adventures, meandering strolls under the stars, and spontaneous journeys taken for the sheer thrill of it all. Memories of his touch flooded my mind, how his eyes would ignite with a spark the moment they fell upon me. It had been years since I last experienced that sensation. A numbness enveloped me, a void where emotions once thrived. Fatigue clung to me like a heavy shroud, the weight of my invisibility pressing down with relentless force. As we stepped onto the shore, Liam took charge, guiding me to a secluded nook by the water's edge, where we could escape the world and settle in. I spread the towels across the sand as he anchored the umbrella against the relentless sun. An inexplicable urge tugged at me, drawing me toward him, urging me to speak. Perhaps it was the solitude that enveloped him, the weight of being the sole presence in that vast emptiness. Perhaps all I truly craved was a presence, a soul, to hear my unspoken words. "Isn't it refreshing to step outside, to feel the world around us?" I said, forcing a cheerful tone into my voice, though the weight of uncertainty hung in the air. He nodded, his fingers sweeping through his hair with a deliberate grace. "Yeah, Mom, it's nice," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the words themselves were afraid to break the silence that hung heavy in the air. I reclined on the towel, the sun's warmth enveloping me, sinking deep into my skin. For a moment, I remained motionless, striving to shed the burdens of the past few years, if only for a fleeting instant. In that moment, a flash of realization struck me: sunscreen. The crucial shield against the relentless sun, a forgotten ally in my quest for adventure. As I propped myself up, my gaze shifted to Liam. "Could you lend me a hand with this on my back?" "Could?" I inquired. "It eludes my grasp, just out of reach." He paused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face, before finally grasping the bottle from my outstretched hand. I sank back onto the towel, my face pressed against its fabric, and I waited, heart racing in the stillness. His first touch was feather-light, hesitant, as if he feared the slightest pressure might shatter me. A warm smile crept across my face, a vivid memory surfacing of his younger days, when his tiny fingers clasped mine as we navigated the bustling street together. "You can press a bit harder," I urged, my voice barely breaking through the thick air around us. "Everything will be all right." He complied, his touch growing bolder, as he glided the oil over my shoulders and down my spine. As I shut my eyes, I surrendered to the enveloping warmth and the steady cadence of his hands. In that fleeting instant, I surrendered to the pleasure of the moment. It felt like an eternity since the warmth of another's touch had graced my skin. The sting of that thought pierced deeper than I was willing to acknowledge. But then, his hands started to wander downwards. With each measured movement, a sensation traveled down the curve of my back. My breath caught in my throat, and as I parted my lips to speak, silence enveloped me, leaving me voiceless. My mind surged with a torrent of thoughts, but I held my tongue, enveloped in a heavy silence. I told myself everything was perfectly fine, that he was merely offering assistance, and I was letting my imagination run wild. Yet, beneath the surface, a haunting truth lingered within me. I was not what I seemed. His hands lingered, suspended in the air, just shy of the boundary where the towel lay still. A palpable tension hung in the air, a mix of his uncertainty intertwining with my own, each heartbeat echoing the weight of the moment. And rather than stopping him, I uttered words that would haunt me forever. "Everything will be all right." What I said next would haunt me forever, words that should never have been spoken. The words lingered ominously, a palpable weight that settled around me, and the moment they slipped from my mouth, I realized there was no turning back. Liam remained silent, his pace unwavering as he pressed on. I clenched my eyes shut, a shiver racing down my spine as his hands ventured into forbidden territory. My heart pounded in my chest, a thunderous drumbeat that felt as if it might betray me to him. A fierce urge surged within me, compelling me to rise, to break the silence, to demand he cease his actions. Yet, I chose not to. I was unable to do it. I surrendered to the unfolding events. Even now, the reasons elude me, shrouded in mystery. Perhaps it was the suffocating weight of solitude. Perhaps it was the aching need for recognition, a yearning that felt so profoundly misguided. Perhaps I had simply lost all sense of concern. That fateful day on the beach, a part of me broke apart, and ever since, everything has changed irrevocably. Your perseverance in following this journey is truly appreciated. Thank you for staying by my side. I understand that this may be difficult to absorb, and I truly value your willingness to listen. If this tale captivates you or strikes a chord with someone in your life, I invite you to show your support by liking and subscribing. It fuels my desire to weave more tales like this, a powerful reminder that I'm not alone in this journey. With that, we plunge deeper into the unfolding tale. From that day forward, the world seemed to shift beneath my feet. The events replayed in my mind, each moment etched in vivid detail, the intensity of my feelings undeniable, and the way Liam's gaze lingered on me afterward sent shivers down my spine. It was profound and unforgettable. The rhythm never wavered. The rhythm never wavered. With every glance, the unspoken truth between us grew heavier. A shared guilt neither could acknowledge, a force that pulled me in and refused to be dismissed. As we stepped through the door that evening, I buried everything deep within, masking the turmoil and pretending as if nothing had transpired. I moved through the evening's tasks, preparing dinner with a sense of routine, inquiring about Liam's day at school, and folding laundry as the night deepened around me. My hands trembled relentlessly as the haunting events of that afternoon replayed in vivid detail within my mind. His hands brushed against mine, lingering with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine, while the tension coiled tightly within me, refusing to let go. A deep loathing consumed me, a bitter resentment brewing within as he awakened emotions I wished to bury, feelings tangled with my own flesh and blood. Daniel remained blissfully unaware of the strange occurrences unfolding around him. He stumbled through the door, the weight of the day clinging to him like a heavy fog. His tie hung askew, a silent testament to the battles fought, and his face bore the marks of exhaustion, each line telling a story of its own. He pressed his lips to my cheek, a mere echo of the warmth it once carried. Was it a day that seemed to stretch on endlessly? I inquired, my heart racing with the anticipation of sparking a connection. With a low grunt, he nodded, his footsteps echoing as he made his way toward the living room, a sense of purpose driving him forward. This was the familiar dance of the everyday. His presence lingered like a shadow, a haunting reminder that I was once again lost in the background, unseen and unheard. As darkness enveloped the room, I found myself wide awake, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, while Daniel's gentle snores filled the air beside me. The house lay in an eerie silence, yet my mind roared with a cacophony of thoughts. Liam consumed my thoughts, an unrelenting presence in my mind. His hands trembled, his gaze pierced through the shadows, and the events that had unraveled loomed like a storm on the horizon. A sense of urgency gripped me as I realized the peril of continuing down this path. I had to put an end to it before it spiraled into something irreversible. Yet, a shadowed, more isolated fragment of my soul clung to it, yearning for the attention, the caress, the intoxicating sensation of being seen. As the days drifted into one another, Liam's unspoken thoughts hung in the air, a heavy silence that resonated more profoundly than any words could convey. He faced me head-on. Instead, he appeared to hover nearer. He would linger in the shadows, his gaze fixed on me as I moved through the rituals of cooking, cleaning, or simply sitting in solitude as the evening deepened. And I allowed it to unfold. I let him go. Just as I let myself slip away. The next weekend arrived with a relentless heat, wrapping the house in a stifling embrace that made every breath feel like a struggle. Daniel had vanished once more, swallowed by the demands of another urgent shift. Once again, it was just Liam and me, isolated in our own world. I leaned in closer and asked him if he wanted to escape back to the beach, just the two of us, where the waves whispered secrets and the sun painted our memories golden. A flicker of doubt crossed my mind as I pondered the reason behind my suggestion. Perhaps I believed the crisp air would sweep away the fog clouding my mind. Perhaps I yearned to test my limits, to discover if I could cast aside everything that tethered me. The drive stretched out in an eerie silence. This time, Liam chose to forgo his earbuds. He gazed out the window, his knee twitching with an anxious energy. I struggled to find the words, desperate to voice even the faintest whisper of thought. Yet, each time I tried to speak, the words eluded me, trapped in a silence that felt suffocating. As we stepped onto the sand, a haunting stillness enveloped the beach, its vast expanse nearly deserted. The water shimmered in a breathtaking shade of blue, while the wind danced across my face, a gentle caress that stirred something deep within me. We unfurled the towels once more, and Liam eagerly assisted in establishing our perfect spot. This time, I found myself paralyzed, unable to utter the words that could shield him from the sun's relentless embrace. I settled into the stillness, eyes shut tight, crafting a facade of normalcy around me. Yet, even in that moment, his gaze pierced through the air, heavy and unyielding. A shiver ran down my spine as I sensed his gaze fixed upon me. That afternoon, the tension reached its peak. Just before we departed, we made the choice to cleanse ourselves in the beach showers, the salty air swirling around us as the water cascaded down, washing away the remnants of our sun-soaked adventure. What was meant to be a fleeting moment, merely a rinse to rid herself of the stubborn grains of sand, quickly spiraled into something far more profound. Yet, an event unfolded in that place that continues to elude my understanding. Liam plunged beneath the rushing water, feeling it cascade down his back like a refreshing embrace. I lingered in the shadows, observing him for a fleeting moment before finally making my move. A surge of impulse washed over me as I shed my outer layers, standing beside him, the cool water cascading over my skin, awakening every nerve with its touch. Liam's eyes shot to mine, wide with surprise. His expression was a mask, concealing the tempest of thoughts swirling beneath the surface. A sudden jolt of unexpected emotion, a whirlwind of uncertainty, or perhaps a feeling that defies definition altogether. Silence enveloped him, a heavy shroud that spoke volumes without a single utterance. I locked eyes with him for a fleeting instant, then boldly suggested, "You should take off your shorts too. Make sure to rinse thoroughly." Uncertainty gnawed at me as the words slipped from my lips, a haunting echo of a thought I couldn't grasp. Perhaps I was seeking to demonstrate to myself that I could seize the reins and put an end to it all. Perhaps I was putting him to the test, or pushing the limits of my own endurance. For a fleeting moment, uncertainty flickered in his eyes, but he soon surrendered to the moment, peeling his shorts away with a deliberate motion. There we stood, isolated, as the relentless water cascaded around us. I pivoted away from him, my voice barely above a whisper. "Please, help me with my back." He did indeed. His touch was deliberate, reminiscent of our past encounters. Yet the electric tension crackling between us was undeniable. When the moment stretched too long, I knew we'd stepped into forbidden territory. The air hung thick with tension, while the relentless roar of the water consumed all other sounds, enveloping the scene in an almost suffocating embrace. There was a moment, a fleeting choice, where I could have turned my back and vanished into the shadows. I stood at the precipice, the weight of my choices pressing down on me. A thought flickered like a candle in the dark. I could have ended it. But instead, I surrendered to the moment, leaning back into him, my fingers intertwining with his as I urged them higher, drawing him closer to my heart. And when I finally made my move, he offered no resistance. What happened next remains locked in the darkest corner of my conscience, a shame too deep to voice. I refuse. It was a whirlwind of desperation, isolation, and an unsettling shadow that eludes my grasp. It struck with ferocity, and it surged forward with a relentless speed. The air crackled with tension, a palpable sense of urgency hanging heavy in the atmosphere, as if the very fabric of reality was fraying at the edges. It felt like a wild storm brewing, chaotic and fraught with peril, each moment teetering on the brink of disaster. Everything about it was a violation of the natural order, a dark twist of fate that left a lingering chill in its wake. Yet I found myself unable to halt its relentless course. I was reluctant to take that step. As the deluge cascaded around us, we remained frozen in place, the relentless torrent erasing every sign of what had transpired. Yet the raw truth lingered, unscathed and hauntingly present. The embrace contained all the comfort I'd been missing, twisted with everything it shouldn't have been, a warmth I hadn't experienced in years. And I surrendered to him. In the silence that followed, words hung heavy in the air, unspoken and unresolved. We shook off the remnants of the day, gathered our belongings, and trudged back to the car in silence. A fleeting glance at Liam revealed the flush of crimson staining his cheeks and the rigid tension coiling through his every movement. In that moment, the weight of my actions crashed down upon me, a relentless tide of regret. I had obliterated it all. A chilling realization washed over me. We had ventured into a realm from which there was no return. For the first time in years, a spark ignited within me, awakening a sense of vitality I thought long lost. The car ride home unfolded in a heavy silence, thick with unspoken words and lingering tension. The vehicle enveloped us in a suffocating embrace, its cramped confines pressing in like the very weight of the world, as if the atmosphere conspired to drag us deeper into an unseen abyss. My hands clenched the steering wheel, knuckles white as I concentrated on the asphalt ahead, yet my thoughts whirled chaotically, refusing to settle. I could still sense his presence lingering in the air. His hands trembled, his presence loomed large, and the weight of what had just transpired hung heavy in the air. My gaze flickered to him in the passenger seat, a magnetic pull drawing my attention again and again. And he sat frozen, eyes locked on the window, his flushed face and tight jaw revealing the storm brewing within him. Suddenly, he shattered the stillness that enveloped them. "Mom," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, laced with uncertainty. My gaze was drawn away, unable to meet his eyes. Fear gripped me, yet his voice pierced through the silence, unmistakable and haunting. What just unfolded back there? My heart raced, a sudden jolt of adrenaline coursing through me. For a fleeting heartbeat, I toyed with the idea of feigning ignorance, diverting the conversation, or simply sweeping it under the rug. Yet, denial served no purpose. Not after everything we had unleashed. I inhaled deeply, my breath trembling, and spoke the truth that weighed heavily on my heart. I don't know. It was the truth, or at least the closest I could come to grasping. Confusion enveloped me, leaving me in a haze of uncertainty about the events that had unfolded and the reasons behind them. All I understood was that the world around me had transformed completely. The silence hung heavy in the air as we finally rolled into the driveway. I switched off the engine, yet we remained frozen in place, caught in the stillness of the moment. Then Liam turned to me, his gaze piercing through the air, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. In his eyes, I glimpsed a darkness that sent a chill down my spine. It was neither guilt, nor confusion, nor the weight of shame that lingered in the air. It was an insatiable longing. For how long have these feelings consumed you? His voice pierced the air, sending a shiver racing down my spine. The question echoed in my mind, relentless and haunting. As our eyes locked, an intense wave surged through me, shattering the barriers I had built within. "I don't know," I whispered, my voice barely breaking the heavy silence that surrounded us. Perhaps longer than I care to confess. In the suffocating darkness, we lingered, the heavy silence thick with the burden of unvoiced thoughts. I believed that would mark the conclusion of it all. We would step inside, seeking refuge from the chaos, determined to erase the memories and act as if nothing had ever transpired. Yet, Liam harbored a different vision altogether. Just as I reached for the doorknob, he leaned in, capturing my lips with his in a moment that felt electric. It began with a sense of hesitation. He lingered, uncertainty etched on his face, as if he dreaded that I might slip away. Yet, I refrained. As his lips met mine, I surrendered to the moment, returning his kiss with a fervor that ignited something deep within me. In that moment, everything slipped from my grasp. Was it the crushing weight of loneliness, the scars of years spent in neglect, or the way Liam's gaze pierced through my solitude, igniting a spark that had long been extinguished? I surrendered to it, whatever it was. Right there, just outside our house, he drew me in, his hands gliding over me as if they were meant to be there. In that moment, a spark ignited within me, a sensation I hadn't experienced in what seemed like an eternity. In search of the elusive, witnessed, nothing else held any significance. Time slipped away as we remained entwined, lost in each other's warmth, until the pull of the indoors beckoned us to finally part. The journey to the door is a blur, a fog that envelops my mind, leaving me with no recollection of each step taken. The warmth of his hand enveloped mine, and an electric silence crackled in the air around us. As the door swung shut behind them, the atmosphere thickened, tension crackling in the air like a liver. It felt like a dam had burst after years of pressure, unleashing a torrent we could no longer restrain. With a thunderous roar, the dam shattered, unleashing a torrent of water that surged forth like a wild beast, hungry for freedom. The days that followed blurred into a fog of confusion and uncertainty. Liam lingered close, his presence a constant thrill, always seeking moments to brush against me or lock eyes when the world faded away. I repeatedly urged myself to bring it all to a close, to put an end to whatever this was. Yet, each time my gaze met his, the haunting void mirrored the desolation within me. We both knew this was wrong, yet powerless to stop the avalanche we'd started, and the word no felt like a distant echo I couldn't summon. I was reluctant to do it. As darkness enveloped the room, I found myself lying beside Daniel, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, the rhythmic sound of his breathing weaving a comforting lullaby in the stillness of the night. Liam occupied every corner of my mind, his touch igniting a spark within me that I thought had long been extinguished. The guilt twisted within me like a serpent, yet it failed to halt my resolve. A sense of inevitability washed over me. I understood deep down that this moment was fleeting. Though I knew it was wrong, the pull was irresistible, drawing me deeper into its grasp. The air crackled with unspoken words, a palpable tension that swelled between us, building to a breaking point that felt inevitable. One evening, as the clock ticked past midnight and shadows danced in the corners of the dimly lit kitchen, Daniel toiled away at his work while Sophie lay peacefully asleep. I found myself standing at the sink, the cool water cascading over my hands as I scrubbed the dishes, desperately seeking a distraction from the weight of the silence that enveloped me. A shiver ran down my spine as I sensed Liam's presence looming just behind me. As I spun around, my heart raced. There he stood, his gaze locked onto mine, just as it had been that fateful day at the beach. "Liam," I murmured, my voice laced with an unspoken warning. Yet he stood his ground. As the distance closed, every rational thought screamed at me to stop. But my loneliness screamed louder, brushing against my skin. "Mom," he breathed, his voice barely a whisper in the dim light. "You linger in my thoughts, an unshakable presence that haunts my mind." I stood motionless. My heart raced violently, each beat echoing in my ears as if it might burst from the intensity. I felt an urgent need to command him to halt, to retreat to his room, to abandon me entirely. But instead, I met his gaze and uttered the one thing I knew I shouldn't have. I find myself unable to break free as well. That was the moment everything changed. What happened next was the point of no return, an irreversible mistake born from loneliness, in a state of utter desperation, and I pressed my lips against his, surrendering to the moment. I felt no remorse for the choices I made. Thoughts of Daniel, Sophie, and the life we had woven together slipped away from me, overshadowed by the weight of the moment. Nothing else existed in that moment but Liam, my son, a beacon of light in my life. For years, there had been only one soul who ignited the flicker of significance within me. Ever since that fateful day at the beach, the world has been irrevocably altered. I can hardly believe it will ever happen. Liam and I stepped over a line that forever altered our fates. The weight of guilt bears down relentlessly, an unyielding force that suffocates the soul. Yet, it fails to hold me back, and that fills me with the deepest dread. Each day I gaze at Daniel and Sophie, perplexed by their obliviousness to the truth that surrounds them. They remain oblivious to the fractures silently spreading within our family. Perhaps they are consumed by the chaos of their own existence. Or perhaps I've merely honed my skills in concealment. Yet deep down, I sense that this moment is fleeting. Secrets possess an uncanny ability to emerge from the shadows. And when that moment arrives, chaos will reign supreme. I have sought to bring it all to a close. I whispered to myself that it was wrong. Both Liam and I are worthy of so much more. Yet, each time his fingers brush against my skin, or his gaze locks onto mine with an intensity that makes me feel singularly cherished, I find myself unraveling completely. He ignites a spark within me, awakening emotions I thought had long faded away. Perhaps even forever. That is the stark reality I must confront. A sense of helplessness washed over me as I stared at the problem before me, uncertainty gnawing at my mind. How could I possibly find a way to mend this? The weight of the situation pressed down, leaving me feeling lost and desperate for a solution. I'm not sure I have the strength to do it. This is the reason I must unveil this tale. Desperation hangs in the air as I reach out, yearning for a glimmer of hope. Is there anyone out there who holds the key to my questions? A thought that had never crossed my mind before. Perhaps you hold the key to my escape from this chaos, but time is slipping away. I'm eager to hear your insights. If you've faced a similar challenge or know someone who has, your experiences could illuminate the path ahead. Let this stand as a dire warning, echoing through the shadows of what lies ahead. Loneliness can draw you into realms you never imagined existed. Resist its pull, for it devoured me whole. Don't let the fabric of your life unravel before you grasp the truth of your reality. For once you step over that threshold, retreat becomes an impossibility. Your attention is deeply appreciated. We invite you to dive into the depths of your thoughts. If this video struck a chord within you, let it be known by giving it a like. Join us on this journey by subscribing for more captivating content. I must feel the assurance that I am not the only one in this vast expanse. At times, the most profound betrayals are not those we inflict upon others. They are the betrayals we inflict upon our own souls.